Welcome back to Chow Time Pods. Your host, Got videos today from AllAsianDilemmas. Yeah, it's really that Adam and Eve thing, right? When women are getting more, the more they get, the more they want. It's just not enough. And once they have a certain level of something, which is, voting rights, power in society, what do? They turn around and crap on men.
Gradually turning toward discrimination against men. The two sexes moved directly into opposition. A boss sends a work email to a female subordinate, it becomes harassment. A coworker looks at a coworker.
We thought feminism and, Me Too and stuff was crazy here. No, in Korea and in Japan, it's even worse.
It's already seen as bad intentions. Any physical
Sending an email to your coworker is bad intentions, guys.
Contact between a man and a woman starts being treated as harassment. Even today, there's still a widely shared idea. A woman should have different types of men around her, one to handle errands, one to pay the bills, one to give gifts, and one official boyfriend. Maybe this isn't said out loud anymore, but in practice
Wow, that is so interesting.
Model still exists. Meanwhile, many Japanese women are labeled as gentle, delicate, and good marriage material, and even those who work outside the home often get pushed into the role of devoted wife. So what made this movement shift from extreme feminism to its current state? Today, this isn't about the past, it's about modern reality. In today's Japan, there's no longer an economic bubble, but there is something else. Men working more and spending more on women. Expensive dinners, branded gifts, trips, experiences. For many men, pursuing someone still means spending money, a lot of money.
True.
And for many women, this has become the standard. I'm an independent woman of the new era. If you want to win me over, you need to spend a lot of money and put in a lot of effort. Otherwise, step aside. That mentality.
You know what? And this is why men in the United States chose to step aside.
Never disappeared, it just changed shape. What used to be called love capitalism now appears as emotional demands disguised as empowerment, where men are expected to prove their value with their wallets. Once this game began, everything spiraled out of control. Opposition between men and women became a tool, and discrimination intensified. Today, many men feel they no longer have the right to stand on equal footing, unless they're considered high-quality men. That sense of superiority built through gender conflict eventually turned into contempt. A brush in the subway becomes a scandal. A glance becomes criminal intent.
So
Asking
crazy.
for contact information becomes suspicious. This is harassment. This is a crime. This is violence. And men quickly learn to stay silent, because arguing doesn't help. Two fists don't beat dozens of hands. Meanwhile, when a man tries to court a woman, he spends.
Damn, that's a good analogy. Two fists don't beat dozens of hands. Damn.
That money accumulates on the other side, and purchasing power turns into social voice. That's why much of today's social narrative still praises women, while any male resistance...
It's true, they still hold a lot of the purchasing power of the society because women just buy so much crap.
Feels pointless. This logic also entered the workplace. An email is harassment, a look is harassment, overtime becomes ulterior motives. The old love capitalism, still aimed for dating and marriage. Modern feminism often rejects all of that. Women alone are better, men aren't reliable, marriage is oppression. Marriage and children? That's a male conspiracy to drain the last of our energy.
Male conspiracy, guys. To keep our species moving forward into society and to the future is a male conspiracy. Jeez.
The names changed, but the essence stayed the same. Putting men down became cheap, easy, and highly rewarded. Low risk, high return.
Same thing that happens here in the US, right? Women making videos about, oh, men should just, be killed and all these things. We choose the bear.
Easy to accept, easy to spread. Today, many men don't live in total misery, but they live under constant accusation. When the conflict reached its limit, the government stepped in with physical separation and women-only train cars. Everyone in their own space. Women feel safer. Men try not to draw attention. It looks like...
It's funny how, again, feminism wanted everything equality and everything mesh, and then it turned out to be just everything segregated again anyways. How we used to have things where a lot of male things and with female things were segregated from each other.
A perfect solution. But there's a simple rule. Every right must be sustained by reality. There is no longer a golden age, there's economic pressure, high living costs, and unstable work. And when reality tightens, narratives begin to lose strength. That's when the system reveals who can truly pay the price.
Right.
And at the very beginning of it
Men
all,
can.
Japanese women only wanted one thing: to stop being pressured into marriage. At first, they simply wanted to oppose early marriage and the idea that women should become housewives after marrying. At that stage, men also rejected those outdated customs, so feminism received broad support. Over time, even without an economic bubble like before, the market increasingly began to reward degrees, productivity, and performance. Men and women entered the same race. College.
We're almost in the same boat right now, guys. It's the exact same thing, right? That the US is going through. Japan and Korea went through it a little bit quicker than us.
Careers, financial independence. Once
Oh, and then, we also have immigration, mass immigration, so that changes things a little bit too.
many women gained economic autonomy and tasted freedom, the movement slowly went off track. It's understandable. If you spent years studying, built a career, and now have to share your life with someone who can't keep up with your pace, who would accept that? But it bears repeating, every right must pass the productivity test. When living costs rise, jobs become unstable, and companies start cutting expenses, there's no room left for empty rhetoric. Not getting fired becomes a victory. Hiring is out of the question.
Well, I would assume most women are getting fired because most jobs that downsize are usually jobs that are easier and more office type jobs, so women are losing jobs.
Economy slows, businesses close, jobs disappear. This becomes daily life. In that environment, everyone is pushed into fierce competition just to avoid being the next to fall. Political correctness and ladies first take a back seat. Anyone who threatens your performance becomes an enemy. In this silent war for space, women tend to feel the impact first. Because, whether you like it or not, in prolonged collective competition, the female group struggles more to match the male pace. I'm not talking about individuals, I'm talking about groups. Once everyone goes through the productivity filter, it becomes clear who can handle pressure and who can't.
It's true.
After that, men start competing among themselves until only the most adapted remain. We said earlier that feminism grew through economic independence. And when that foundation starts to shake, the narrative weakens. But that's not the only reason. Another factor is that after this brutal competition, many men simply wake up. Those who fall behind choose to stop playing. You say marriage exploits women? I completely agree. So, for your happiness, I choose not to marry.
Yep.
You say men discriminate against women at work? I agree too. So I won't work anymore, I'll stay home. Everyone says feminism went off track, but where exactly? The shift begins when self-improvement is abandoned and replaced by demands that the other side sacrifice their own interests.
See, this is why I think, as much as people say red pill and feminism are like the same side of the coin, we're not. Red pill pushes for self-improvement, pushes for you to be better, pushes for you to get skills and be a better productive member of society. Not just to play victim and make everybody do the work for you. Where feminism, I don't think there's any work put into feminism. Never seen feminism say, work on yourself, grow yourself. That's a huge difference between the two. Yes, they both have extremes, but at least the red pill pushes self-improvement.
But modern otakus became the natural enemy of that mindset. They say a normal man needs to learn how to give gifts. The otaku replies, don't bother, I'm already a failure. Total victory. And what about the men who won this race? They didn't completely give up, but almost. I'm not even a normal man. I'm narcissistic. I earn money just to spend it on myself. You say men are afraid.
It does make us a little bit more narcissistic, doesn't it, when she says it that way? I earn money to spend on myself. That's what we tell men nowadays. Yeah, earn money. Make yourself happy. Don't have to always, compete for women's affections.
Of women and don't want to marry? Marry? No. Marriage is a female conspiracy to drain the last of male labor. It's basically feminism's rhetoric flipped upside down.
Pretty much.
And when the movement loses its economic foundation, it enters a quiet collapse. Many women return to domestic life, and expectations shift again, from 4 types of men to highly educated, high-quality men, until reaching today's basic standard: simply having a job and not being violent. Why did this
So you went back to the exact same thing that women dealt with before.
change happen? Once again, we return to the same truth. Every right must pass the productivity test. Because when reality tightens, words don't fill stomachs. Today, the status of Japanese women isn't exactly low, but it isn't high either. It sits in an uncomfortable middle ground. And Japanese men, as the main survivors of this silent war, ended up absorbing the entire logic of the system, and they're the ones who learned how to play the game to the end.
Correct, because we're logical.
Korean feminism goes even further, blending ideology with reality in extreme ways. I've already talked about that in another video on the channel.
I'll cover that Korean video too.
At the end of the day, what we're looking at here isn't just Japanese feminism, or
It's
Japanese
feminism.
machismo, or a collection of fancy terms meant to impress people on podcasts. It's something much simpler and precisely because of that, much more uncomfortable. It's a game of power, incentives, and rewards. And the classic mistake of the modern man is entering this game believing he can win it through symbolic virtue. He believes in the symbol, he believes in the role, he believes in the aesthetic. He believes that if he's simply a good man, the world will eventually recognize and reward him. But reality doesn't work like that.
It doesn't.
And here's the shock. Women in general don't treat morality like a religion. They treat it like a tool, not because they're evil, but because they're pragmatic. They want results. They want security, they want stability, they want status, they want validation, and when there's a moral narrative that delivers those things, it gets used. Meanwhile, many men do the opposite. They turn morality into an altar. They serve it as if it were a god. And that becomes
True.
a trap.
We do take morals very highly
Because the man starts
amongst each
calling
other.
submission, honor, silence, maturity, and accepting everything love. In the end, he turns into an emotional ATM who's afraid to breathe the wrong way. The most ironic part is that this system only works because so many men cooperate with it,
True.
not through force, through belief. Men buy into the idea that they were born to serve relationships, serve women, serve society, serve birth rates, serve...
Hell, he's not wrong, right? Even, I think my thought process is like this. I think that men should be serving and we should serve. I always say it. But he's not wrong in that thought process has been instilled into us in this way.
The hero myth serve morality itself. They enter relationships as if they were signing a contract with the universe.
But then again, to make society better and, worth living, you got to put in work. You got to be willing to sacrifice a little bit of work for no gratitude to just make things a little bit better, if you actually care about those things.
Instead of negotiating with reality. And then they place themselves in a position where they only exist if they're constantly proving something, proving value, proving patience, proving posture, proving frame, proving they can endure. If they question it, they're called weak. If they refuse, they're called as a reward for good behavior. Nobody hands out power. Power is taken. And most of the time, taking power is something very simple. Saying no, leaving what drains you, stopping funding what disrespects you, refusing contracts where you carry all the duties and none of the rewards, stopping the confusion between sacrifice and value. Courage isn't throwing yourself into risk for aesthetics. Courage is facing what you need to face for the gains you actually want. And if there's no real gain, no real reward, then it isn't courage, it's just stupidity with a motivational caption. Japan makes all of this easier to see because it works like a social laboratory.
It does.
There, when men realize there's no benefit, they simply unplug. They withdraw, they stop marrying, they stop chasing relationships like endurance tests, and when men unplug, the discourse changes, the demands change, the narratives adapt. Because deep down, it was always about incentives. But in many parts of the world, we still pretend that isn't true, while men slowly destroy themselves proudly believing they're being virtuous. So the final question isn't, who's right? The real question is, who does this serve? Who benefits when men are convinced they need to be martyrs in order to be respected?
Just think about that, right? Who benefits the most for the martyr of men? It's that top tier people that control everything. They get the most benefit out of everything. Remember that. Please like, subscribe, comment down below. I really appreciate that. And I'll catch you guys next time. Ciao.